Today is my last day here, and before this I went to Port Sudan, and then I went to Juba. I visited Abyei for 2 days and met authorities and communities there. And additionally, I also briefly stopped over in Awel in the state of Northern Bahr el Ghazal. This afternoon, in early afternoon, I met with His Excellency President Salva Kiir, and earlier in the week I had a chance to meet with the first Vice President Riek Machar and a number of cabinet ministers. I also met with the Vice President Benjamin Tokdol in the early part of the afternoon as well. So let me open this discussion by saying that the key purpose of my visit was to convey an important message, actually the fundamental message, which is the continued support and continued commitment of the entire UN family to South Sudan, especially as it enters the 4th extension of its transitional period amidst a variety of challenges. So the commitment is fully there, both by UNMISS as well as by the UN agencies. As all of you know, the latest extension commenced on the 22nd of February, just a few days ago, and we felt it's critical to emphasize the message of that UN commitment when the country is doing its best to fully implement the Revitalized Peace Agreement and hold its first elections that are due to be happening by November 2026. At the same time, we're all aware that there are serious challenges faced by the South Sudanese people and their leaders. There is the dire economic and humanitarian situation, and we're also aware of rising insecurity at the subnational level. And we've seen occurrence of violence in various parts of the state, of the country, which are obviously of concern. There is also the impact of the Sudanese conflict on South Sudan, both in terms of the number of IDPs, the number of refugees, returnees, the impact on the economy, the potential impact on security in South Sudan. So obviously the conflict in South Sudan is adding to the already existing domestic challenges of South Sudan. We have to take that into account. The situation in South Sudan is part of simultaneous crises across the world, and these multiple crises, as you know, unfortunately have led to considerable pressure on the international community when it comes to humanitarian assistance, and particularly on funding. So, simply put, there are too many people in need and too few resources available. Our main contributors have constrained on their public finances, and we are, on the one hand, committed to continuing the advocacy in support of South Sudan, but definitely that will require the partnership of all, including the authorities of South Sudan, so that we can have an effective advocacy in terms of the resources that are needed to support South Sudan. But against this backdrop, again, I wanted to come and assure our interlocutors of the UNs and first and foremost our Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, again, the strong commitment to continue supporting South Sudan, making sure that attention will not be diverted out of the South Sudanese situation. So now let me cover some of the discussion I've had in the past days. We have spoken at length about current security and humanitarian concerns, intercommunal conflict, and the road to election as part of the implementation of the peace agreement, and vitally our ongoing efforts as the UN to assist the government of South Sudan in holding credible, fair, and peaceful elections in December 2026. I took the opportunity to highlight some of the main messages, some of the main positions that you've already heard from the special representative of the Secretary General in South Sudan and head of UNMISS, Nicola Haysom, who's next to me. And particularly our hope that the parties to the Revitalized Agreement will break political deadlocks through consensus and move forward swiftly to ensure the latest extension leads to elections under the best possible circumstances. Completing a peaceful democratic transition is a common goal between South Sudan and the international community. And certainly it's a goal that we share. But it is the South Sudanese themselves, and first and foremost their authorities, who must do the heavy lifting. As the UN, we're here to assist them in every way we can on their journey to a permanent peace. We also spoke about the crisis in Sudan and IBA-related matters, such as ongoing intercommunal tension between the Nuer Dinka and Twitch Dinka communities, as well as the fallout from the conflict in Sudan on the IBA box. On these issues, we agreed that building trust and confidence among both communities, as well as making sure that there is active dialogue between all the key stakeholders is absolutely paramount. We reiterated our ongoing efforts in this regard, while noting that the issue of the final status of ABA remains open, and of course we hope that there will be progress in that direction. But in the meantime, again, I reiterate that a regular and an effective dialogue between the parties, it's important to make sure that ABA will be preserved from the current challenges that are resulting from the situation in the box, but also in the vicinity, both in Sudan as well as in the neighboring states of South Sudan. Well, as far as the conflict in Sudan is concerned, I mean, the objective of the UN is to promote dialogue and a return to peace in Sudan. So that is really what we're about, and the envoy of the Secretary General, Mr. Lamamra, is working very hard to achieve these objectives. Now, regarding the UNMISS, the AU-UN hybrid peacekeeping mission in Darfur, it's not the UN who decided to withdraw UNMISS. It's the government of Sudan. It's the new government of Sudan that was put in place after the change in the political dynamic and the departure of former President Bashir. And when the host country decides that they don't want a peacekeeping mission on their territory anymore, well, the only thing we can do is we withdraw, basically. So that is, I think, it's important to set the record straight, because that is exactly what happened. Not a decision by the UN, but a decision by the new authorities in Sudan. I think the lesson that need to be drawn from that is that, the good condition in which a peacekeeping mission withdraw are conditions where the objectives have been achieved, and the objectives usually are the implementation of a political process, a successful implementation of a political process, and the presence of strong and credible state institutions, particularly in the area of security and rule of law. So when that happens, and you have many cases where this happened, in Africa, Liberia, Sierra Leone, in the past Angola, Mozambique, in Asia, Cambodia, East Timor, and so on and so forth. The list is very long. But that is how, a peacekeeping mission can successfully withdraw, that is after achieving its goal. Now, if the peacekeeping mission needs to withdraw because the host country decides that it doesn't want the peacekeeping mission anymore, that is a totally different situation. It happened in Sudan, it happened in Mali, it happened in Haiti. And in that case, where the implication of that withdrawal, of course, are altogether very different. And we're seeing this in Darfur, we're seeing this in Haiti. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the main message to President Kiir is that what I mentioned earlier, that is a full commitment from the UN family, the agencies, UNMISS, to support South Sudan in relation in particular to moving forward with the implementation of the Revitalized Agreement, and particularly the preparation for holding election. And of course, the related message is that, as Fink was putting, I mean, this needs an equally strong involvement and commitment from the Sudanese authorities. We are of the view, as SRG Haysom was saying, that South Sudan cannot afford another extension. And I think there are a number of reasons for that. And one of them is that the people of South Sudan expect to have election. The second one is that there are security challenges in the country, which were alluded to by Fink, but there is also a very challenging regional environment. And moving forward towards the implementation of the transitional agreement would be the best possible avenue to mitigate this impact of a very unstable regional environment, and making sure that South Sudan would be on the path to stability. I think the third element is that the member states, the international community, the Security Council, and also those financial contributors to UNMISS and to humanitarian assistance do expect quite clearly that there will be progress. So that is really what I would like to say. I mean, it's probably mixing your first and your second question. Now, as far as the DRC is concerned, well, it's obviously a very worrying and difficult situation with the severe humanitarian consequences and losses of life as a result of the M23 offensive with the support of the Rwandese armed forces. Now, what happened lately is that we had quite significant movement on the diplomatic front. We had a joint SADC Eastern African Community Summit, which resulted in a number of recommendations and requests to the parties. We had a subsequent meeting at the level of heads of state of the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, and then a resolution of the Security Council, and more recently, as a follow-up to the joint summit between EAC and SADC, the chief of defense of these organizations met. I think it's encouraging to see that there is movement and involvement of the stakeholders on the diplomatic front. The priority is to have cessation of hostilities. The priority is to also make sure that the decisions that were taken in the framework of the Luanda process would be implemented, and that humanitarian access also will be forthcoming. Now, in the meantime, MONUSCO is limited in delivering on its mandate in the area that are controlled by the M23, that is essentially part of the North Kivu. In the rest of its area of operation, MONUSCO continues to protect civilians and contribute to reducing local violence. It's challenging, but there are still hundreds of thousands of people that are being protected by MONUSCO every single day on these areas. And in addition to that, MONUSCO is ready to support the implementation of a ceasefire. There is a mention of the in the Security Council resolution of the readiness of the Security Council to consider a role for MONUSCO in supporting the ceasefire. We have seen a decision emanating from this meeting of the Chief of Defense of the two sub-regional organizations that I mentioned. So should there be cessation of hostility, then obviously we would be ready to actively support this. Thank you.
So maybe move the focus back to South.
I mean, I believe that what we heard in those meetings was a determination to move forward. But as Fink was saying, I mean, there is a lot that need to be done. There are specific actions that we believe could be taken relatively soon. I think there are 6 of them, with you suggested as low-hanging fruits, having to do with the creating a favorable space for the election to be held in an appeased and open climate, as well as issues having to do with moving forward on the security arrangement. So now, it's about implementing, really. It's about moving forward. I think that's what I can really say in a few words.